My name is Margaret Lane. I'm 65 years old, and I live alone in a small house on the east side of Portland, Oregon. It's not much, but it's quiet, and after a lifetime of noise, marriage, motherhood, meetings, mortgages, I've come to appreciate the silence. I used to be a bookkeeper. Numbers made sense to me. They were loyal, predictable, not like people, not like life. I retired early, partly because the office culture had changed, partly because my body said it was time. But mostly I was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that sinks into your bones when you've spent decades putting everyone else first. My daughter, Emily, is the only family I have left. She's 33 now. Beautiful, smart, stubborn as hell. Just like her father, though I'd never say it out loud. She went through a rough divorce 4 years ago. Moved back in with me when things fell apart. Said it would be temporary. I didn't question it. I opened the door and made up the guest room without a word. At first, I told myself it was a blessing. She needed me again. I had a purpose. I'd cook dinner, wash her laundry, listen to her vent about interviews that went nowhere and friends who stopped calling. I didn't mind. That's what mothers do. But time stretched. Weeks became months. Then years. She found a new boyfriend, Ben. Got a part-time job at a gallery. Started sleeping in on weekends while I swept the porch and paid the bills. She called it resetting her life. I called it surviving. I never asked her for rent. Never asked for much of anything. I just wanted her to get back on her feet. I wanted her to feel light again, to stop carrying the weight of her mistakes. So I carried it for her. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been quietly saving. Every coupon clipped, every dollar tucked away, every meal I skipped eating out. It all went into one quiet goal. Paying off her student loan debt. $50,143.22. That number haunted me. I saw it every time I logged into my online banking. And this morning, like every morning, I sat at the kitchen table with half a cup of cold instant coffee, picking at a piece of dry toast, and opened my laptop. But this time I didn't just look. I acted. I hovered over the screen, my cursor blinking over the transfer funds button. My hand trembled, not from doubt, but from something harder to name. It had taken me 5 years to save this much. 5 years of downgrading my insurance, canceling cable, and ignoring anything I didn't absolutely need. I hadn't told a soul. Not even Emily. Because this wasn't about recognition. It was about relief. Hers. I clicked. The transaction went through in seconds. I stared at the screen waiting for something to happen, pride maybe. Or joy. Or at least a little peace. But mostly I felt tired. The same tired I always felt, except deeper now. Heavy. Somewhere in the house the fridge buzzed. A car passed outside. The world kept moving like it didn't even notice what I had done. And maybe it didn't. But I did. And for a moment that was enough. The transfer had barely settled when my phone rang. Emily. I glanced at the caller ID and smiled, a flicker of hope rising. Maybe she saw the loan balance. Maybe she understood. I answered softly, "Hey, sweetheart." Her voice came through flat. "Hi. I just got an email from the loan service. Did you?" I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "It's done," I said. "It's paid off. All of it." A pause. Then oh. Wow. Thanks. That was it. Not even a full sentence. Just thanks. Like I'd picked up her dry cleaning. Like I hadn't spent 5 years of my life scraping that money together. I swallowed hard. "I wanted you to start fresh," I said. "Without that weight on your back." "Yeah. No, that's really generous." Another pause, longer this time. "So, Ben and I were talking. And well, he doesn't really feel comfortable with you living here anymore." My heart stilled. I waited for her to laugh, to say she was kidding. But she didn't. Her tone remained even, almost clinical. Detached. "What do you mean?" I asked quietly. She sighed. It's hard for him to relax with someone else around. And with his parents planning to visit next month, it's going to get really cramped. We just think it would be better if you maybe started looking for another place." I didn't speak. I couldn't. Emily, my daughter, the one I'd held through sobbing nights after her husband left, the one I took in when she had nowhere to go, was telling me to leave. I felt something inside me collapse quietly, like a wall crumbling in the distance. No loud crash. Just dust settling. I cleared my throat. You want me to move out? There was a muffled sound on the other end, like she was covering the phone to talk to someone. Ben, probably. Then she returned. Yeah. I mean, we think it's for the best. It's not personal. Not personal. As if anything about this wasn't. I see, I said. We didn't speak again after that. She didn't ask if I needed help finding a place. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even ask if I was okay. She just hung up. I sat in silence, phone still in my hand, the screen gone dark. Then I got up, walked into my room and opened the closet. I pulled out an old suitcase and laid it on the bed. The zipper stuck. It hadn't been used in years. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just folded clothes. Slowly. Carefully. Like I had all the time in the world. There was no farewell. No moment of gratitude. No hug in the hallway or whispered apology. Just silence. The kind that doesn't echo. The suitcase was half full when I opened the filing cabinet. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just trying to be practical. Bank statements, tax returns, warranty slips. I didn't know where I'd end up, but I figured I'd need my records in order. It was something I could control. A small thing but solid. Numbers again. Something to hold on to. That's when I saw it. A manila folder near the back of the drawer. Faded from age, bent at the corners. The deed. I pulled it out, sat down at the dining table and opened it. There it was, my name. Mine alone. Margaret Lane listed as sole owner. Not co-owner. Not joint tenant. No, and Emily Lane written anywhere. I blinked. For a moment I just stared at it, as if it might change under my gaze. But it didn't. It stayed solid. Quiet. Like a whisper that had always been there, waiting for me to hear it. A thought surfaced, quiet but sharp. If she could choose to push me out, I could choose not to go. No yelling. No confrontation. Just a decision. A different kind of clarity. I didn't tell Emily. I didn't even breathe it aloud. I simply closed the folder and placed it on the table in front of me like a line in the sand. That night, after they went out, probably dinner, or another one of Ben's networking events, I stayed behind. Alone in the house I paid for, the one I cleaned, maintained, insured. The one she wanted me to leave. I walked through each room slowly. In the hallway I noticed the scuffed baseboards. In the kitchen, the cracked tile by the sink. Things I'd stopped seeing because I'd stopped imagining a future here. But now I was looking again with purpose. The next morning I called Mike. A local realtor. We'd met years ago at church. I didn't give him the whole story. Just said I was considering options. He offered to stop by later in the week. That night, while Emily and Ben were out again, I started making small changes. Quiet changes. I swapped the heavy navy curtains in the living room, Emily's choice, for light, neutral sheers I'd kept in storage. I packed up her clutter from the entryway table. Scented candles, random keys, a mug of pens that didn't work. Then I took photos. Just a few. Angles. Lighting. I knew what buyers looked for. But this wasn't about selling. Not yet. It was about reclaiming. A few days later I created an Airbnb listing. Nothing permanent. Just a quiet little experiment. I scheduled it for a weekend when I knew they'd be away. Emily had mentioned a winery trip up north. The first booking came within hours. A couple from out of town in for a wedding. They came. They stayed. Emily never noticed. Ben didn't say a word. And me? I sat at Linda's for those 2 nights, drinking tea, watching old crime dramas and thinking. About ownership. About choice. About how freedom doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it begins with a folder in a drawer. I waited until Monday morning. Emily was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone. Ben stood by the fridge, drinking a protein shake like it was any other day in their version of this house. I stepped into the room and said it without ceremony, without bitterness. I'm selling the house. Emily looked up slowly, as if she hadn't heard me right. What? Ben stopped mid-sip. Selling the house? Yes, I said calmly. I've already started the process. I have a realtor. There's been interest. Emily blinked, her mouth half open. You didn't even talk to us about this. I didn't need to. Ben stepped forward, voice raised. We live here too, Margaret. You can't just throw us out. You don't own this house, I replied, still quiet. You don't pay rent. You don't cover utilities. You don't even take out the trash. He looked at Emily, expecting her to intervene. She didn't. He tried again. But I've done repairs. Painted walls. Fixed that leak in the bathroom. That counts for something. Not legally, I said. Not in Oregon. Not in this house. Not under my name. And then there was silence. A thick, sour kind of silence. Emily finally spoke, her voice sharp but shaky. You're really doing this? After everything? I stared at her. Something in me wanted to laugh, but it came out as stillness instead. After everything? My mind flashed without permission like an old projector reel. Late nights at the kitchen table helping her with algebra. Holding her hair back when she had the flu in 5th grade. Sewing her prom dress when we couldn't afford the one she wanted. Selling my wedding ring to pay for her first semester of college. Letting her move back in after the divorce. Cooking for her. Covering bills. Waiting quietly for her life to restart. And all of it, had boiled down to, Mom, we think you should find somewhere else to live. I didn't say any of that aloud. I just looked at her and said, yes, I'm really doing this. She didn't respond. Ben muttered something under his breath and stormed off to their room. The door slammed. Emily just stood there for a moment, eyes not meeting mine, then followed him. I exhaled, not with satisfaction but with certainty. Later that week, I packed up the last of my personal files and moved in with Linda, my older sister who'd been quietly waiting with open arms. Her place was smaller, but warm, and filled with the kind of comfort that comes from someone who doesn't question your worth. While I slept in her guest room and ate soup from actual bowls, the realtor updated me on the listing. Interest was growing. A few showings were scheduled. In the evenings, I browsed apartment listings. Nothing fancy. Just something mine. And for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to feel it. Not anger. Not regret. Relief. The letter came 2 weeks after I moved out. No return address. Just my name written in Emily's familiar, slanted handwriting. I knew it before I even opened it. The way she curved the G in my name, the pressure in the strokes. It used to be the handwriting of birthday cards, of I love you, mom notes left on the counter. I sat down at the kitchen table in Linda's apartment, took a breath, then opened it. I didn't realize what I'd lost until it was gone. That was it. One sentence. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I folded the letter gently, as if it might tear from too much truth. Then I placed it inside a small wooden box I'd kept through every move, every season of my life. Inside were birth certificates, old report cards, photos from county fairs and school recitals. A bracelet she made for me in 2nd grade. A copy of the loan statement. The receipt for the final payment. Proof, not of sacrifice but of devotion. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt done. Done waiting to be seen. Done hoping someone else would value what I gave freely. That realization didn't burn. It didn't harden me. Simply freed me. I used part of the money from the house sale to rent a small 2-bedroom apartment just outside the city. It wasn't glamorous, but it had good light. The 2nd bedroom was empty for now, but I liked knowing it was there, for books or maybe guests or maybe just for myself. I paid 6 months up front. No cosigners. No shared fridge. No closed-door silences. I bought a small potted plant from the Sunday market. Something green. Something living. I placed it on the windowsill, where it could catch the morning sun. The kind of detail I used to ignore when life was survival. Now it felt like a statement. I'm here. I'm growing. On Saturday, Michelle came to visit, my niece Emily's cousin. She brought sparkling water and a housewarming candle. Even though I hadn't told her I needed either. She looked around, took in the uncluttered space, the new quiet, the calm. Then she smiled. You didn't go too far, Aunt Margaret. But if you did, maybe not far enough. I laughed for the first time in weeks. A soft, surprised laugh. The kind that bubbles up when something inside you loosens. We didn't talk about Emily. We didn't have to. Sometimes peace isn't in the conversation. Sometimes it's in the silence that no longer feels heavy. The office was quiet. Neutral walls. Neutral carpet. A bowl of peppermints on the counter. The kind of place where signatures change lives without much noise. I had already reviewed every page the night before. Twice. My pen sat uncapped beside the final document, the transfer of title. Mike, my realtor, gave me a nod from across the table. Calm, steady, just like he'd been through this whole thing. The buyers were a young couple. Excited, nervous, whispering to each other about paint colors and furniture layouts. They didn't look at me and I didn't expect them to. They had no idea the weight that house carried, or what it meant to finally let it go. I reached for the pen, and then the door opened. Emily. She stood in the doorway, flushed and breathless as if she'd run here. She looked around, spotted me, and walked straight over. You can't do this, she said, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. You can't just erase us. Mike stood up. Ma'am, this is a private transaction. It's my home too, she snapped. I met her eyes. No, it's not. It never was. Her voice cracked. You blindsided me. You didn't even give me a chance to fix it. You had months, I said gently. You watched me pack my things. You told me Ben wasn't comfortable with me in my own house. You asked me to clear the guest room. She looked stunned, as if hearing her own words spoken aloud made them heavier. I paid off your debt, I continued. I raised you alone. I gave you a place to come home to when your life fell apart. I let you live there for free. And the moment I needed space, just a little dignity, you told me to go. The room was silent. Emily's eyes shimmered with something I couldn't name, regret maybe, or recognition, but not enough to change anything. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. I paid utilities, she said, her voice rising again. I did repairs. That counts for something. I didn't flinch. Not in Oregon. You're not on the deed. You never paid rent. You have no legal standing. She stared at me, smaller now, softer. So that's it? You're just done with me. I held her gaze. I'll never stop loving you, Emily. But I'm done letting you take from me. I'm done shrinking so you can stretch. She didn't speak. I sat down, picked up the pen and signed the final page. My hand didn't shake. When it was over, I walked outside alone. The sky was overcast, but the air felt clear, crisp. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I just stood still on the sidewalk for a moment and let out a breath I'd been holding for years. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like balance. For the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't winning. I'd simply stopped losing. And that was enough.